Good evening, family, friends, and supporters of Flyer Athletics. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to speak to all of you about the East St. Louis Flyer Booster Clubs, the roles that each plays, and the important topics that need to be covered before the start of another successful year of Flyer Athletics. Before we begin, let me ask you a question. How many schools in the conference have a dedicated booster club that covers all sports? The answer is 3, Belleville, East and West, and Alton. How many schools have a booster club for individual sports? The answer is 2, O'Fallon and Edwardsville. How many schools have some booster clubs, but we don't hear that much about them? The answer is 2, Granite City and Collinsville. How many schools in the conference have no official booster clubs that support a single sport or all sports? If you said 1 and guessed East St. Louis, you were correct. Look at the schools that have booster clubs against those that don't. Who has better facilities? Who has more successful teams players across the board? There may be some outliers in the group, but you can see what I'm getting at. Booster clubs in East St. Louis can improve the athletic experience of our student athletes and, in turn, improve your experience as a parent and fan as it relates to helping our young men and women. For those of you that don't know, my name is Brian Scobie, and I've recently been named athletic director at East St. Louis Senior High School. Booster clubs are an important aspect of high school athletics. It is equally important we all understand that in order to achieve all of our goals, there must be some common ground between us and some knowledge of how booster clubs can enhance or detract from the athletic department. Tonight's presentation will cover multiple topics. We will discuss the purpose and role of booster clubs as it pertains to our athletic department. We will also discuss my role and how I should function within the booster club. We will discuss how the organizational structure of the booster clubs can have an effect on how the clubs operate. The third topic we will discuss tonight is financial reporting. This is probably the most important topic that we will talk about tonight. We must ensure that we are doing things the proper way when it comes to the finances of your clubs. We will discuss the gender equity issues that can arise when booster clubs raise money and how expenditures should represent both sexes. The fifth topic that we will discuss is fundraisers. We'll discuss what types of fundraisers are allowed and how the club should go about organizing them. The last topic we'll look at are some do's and don'ts that booster clubs should remember as you plan for the upcoming school year. We'll then wrap things up with some final thoughts and answer any questions that you may have. The primary function of the booster club is to support athletic teams. Typically, this is seen in the form of monetary donations, but a booster club can and should be much more than that. The booster club should support the educational mission of the school, which is to prepare our students and athletes for college and beyond. The booster club can show support of the athletic program through volunteering of time. The booster club should do exactly what your name states, boost the programs that they support through fundraising and public relations. Booster clubs can support athletics by raising funds to improve our athletic facilities. Booster clubs can support our teams by purchasing items that go beyond the typical athletic budget, such as banners or varsity letters, for example. Booster clubs can support athletics by volunteering time at the concession stand or organizing postseason award banquets. Successful booster clubs will always find a way to enrich the athletic experience of the students at East St. Louis Senior High School. As athletic director, I will act as the liaison between the booster clubs and the administration of the school district. It is my intent to be at as many booster club meetings as possible, to keep a line of communication open, to help give guidance on district policy, and to help clubs stick to their agenda and goal of improving the experience of our athletes, your sons and daughters. If you have any questions about how the club should operate under district policy, I will be there to answer them. It is important for the booster club and the athletic director to have great communication to prevent any action that doesn't violate school district policy, but also to keep both parties on the same page when it comes to support of the programs. Remember, the booster clubs exist to enhance the experience of our student athletes, not vice versa. Booster clubs can be set up in multiple ways. Some schools have one booster club that supports all school teams equally. Some schools have a booster club for each sport that operates independently of each other's. Some schools use a hybrid model with individual booster clubs that function under the umbrella of a board, which can streamline accounting procedures. There'll be more on this later. Here at our school, we have separate booster clubs for each sport, but like I said, they're not official. Regardless of how the booster club is set up, it is my recommendation, if you haven't done so already, to elect officers of the booster club. Make sure that each of these offices, president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary, have clear job descriptions. In addition to electing officers, the club should adopt bylaws for how the club should operate. These bylaws should define how the club operates, how officers are elected and their duties, budget guidelines, how funds are distributed, and financial controls. Running a booster club is much like running a business. Without having your own policies and procedures in place, it will be virtually impossible for the club to ensure that you are following district, state, and IHSA guidelines. The members of a booster club are constantly in flux. With the framework in place, we will ensure that even through changes, the organizational structure, mission, and purpose of the club are understood by all members, regardless of whether they've been in the program for 1 year or 4. This organizational chart is for a booster club at a different high school in the country. As you can see, this booster club has a definitive organizational structure with elected officers. Each of these officers oversee various committee chairs that a typical booster club would have. Having a booster club is great for the school and teams, but it can be a lot of work for those involved. If there's a structure and different job descriptions are available, which they should, then it can make the experience that much better for all involved. Financial oversight is the most important aspect of booster club operations. Booster clubs should be able to raise large amounts of money. Unfortunately, money is where most booster club issues arise. In order to avoid financial irregularities in raising funds, it is important for the booster club to have transparency when it comes to financial matters. The booster club should build a budget, both yearly and monthly, which should be distributed to its members as well as the athletic director and building principal. Booster clubs should approve specific fundraising projects that have a clear purpose and have been approved by the athletic department. The booster club should never use cash to pay bills. Any checks written by the booster club under their own account should require 2 signatures to ensure that the check is going to where it's supposed to go. Finally, booster clubs should use effective accounting procedures. The booster club should give an annual report to the school district every year. As I said earlier, financial controls must be in place to have a successful booster club. It is strongly suggested that the club incorporate. This will provide structure when making contracts and purchasing insurance. In addition to incorporation through the IRS, the state of Illinois also requires that booster clubs register in the state. Information about registering in the state can be found through the Illinois Secretary of State. And speaking of accounting procedures, it is in the best interest of the booster club to apply for tax-exempt status, also known as 501c3 with the IRS. In order to qualify for this type of status, an organization must exist and operate exclusively for a number of different activities, including charitable, educational-related, and fostering of amateur status. Booster clubs typically meet these requirements. If a club fails to obtain tax-exempt status, it will be required to file a corporate tax return and pay taxes on money earned, which will be your donations. When the club is incorporated, you will receive an employer identification number, EIN. This number is the equivalent of the Social Security number for an individual. This will allow the IRS to identify the club. If you receive charitable status with the IRS, you will be required to file a tax return every year. The school district is not allowed to let the booster club use its tax-exempt status for purchases due to potential liability issues. It also will require the booster clubs to have greater accountability in financial matters. We're going for transparency here, and there's nothing more transparent than a federal tax return. Most booster clubs are unaware of the fact that they must file tax statements to legally solicit donations for the club. Some type of simple accounting software to track payables and receivables would go a long way towards financial and budgeting transparency. It is important that the booster club operate within the policies and procedures set forth by the school district and the IHSA. Not only should school, state, and IHSA policies be followed, the booster club should have its own internal policies and procedures in place for purchasing. All purchases must be approved by the athletic department. If a club wishes to purchase equipment for teams, there is a procedure in place for those types of transactions. A booster club should never order materials on their own. Items should never be shipped to a private address. All packages should be delivered to the school address. When the equipment is purchased and donated, understand that it becomes the property of the school district. Booster club funds can be used for many things, but there are some things that a booster club should not do. A booster club is not allowed to use funds to directly benefit a student athlete. This means funds can't be used to pay participation fees. Volunteer hours can't be used to help an athlete pay down athletic fees. There are many other types of prohibited activities. It is our duty to educate ourselves as to what is allowed and what is not. As the integrity of the as well as the amateur status of the student athlete. The next topic we will look at is gender equity. For those of you who haven't heard of Title IX or are unaware of its purpose, in a nutshell, it requires the equal opportunity in and the equal treatment of both genders in interscholastic athletics. Any organization that receives federal funding is subject to the laws of Title IX, and because we are a school district, the athletic department falls under this umbrella. Even though the individual booster clubs don't fall under Title IX requirements, the donations that you make do count in the school district Title IX equation. Booster clubs play an important role in the financing of athletics, but booster club donations lead to a large number of Title IX lawsuits against athletic departments. Before the club chooses to make any purchases, the athletic director should be consulted to determine if the purchase will be compliant with Title IX. Schools that continually disregard Title IX run the risk of losing federal funding, and this could be devastating for the athletic department and the district as a whole. It is my job to ensure that all donations are used equitably among the school teams. I'll do my best to educate the different clubs and its members about the requirements of Title IX and how best to use the funds to keep things fair and balanced. With multiple clubs, this task is a little more difficult to do, but with the right checks and balances in place, as well as the following of policies put in place, we can always do the right thing for our student athletes. Let's get into what booster clubs should do best, fundraising. There are many different ways that booster clubs can fundraise. Boosters can operate the concession stands at games. This form of fundraising can generate most of the funds that boosters raise. Boosters can sell team merchandise at these games or through a dedicated website for purchases. There are many vendors in the area that create items for sale with a portion of the proceeds coming back to the athletic department. If you would like to look into this, I'd be more than happy to get you in contact with certain stores. Boosters can charge different amounts for different levels of membership if they choose to do so. Boosters can also seek out corporate sponsorship or advertising for the athletic department. When soliciting sponsorship or advertising, booster clubs aren't bound by district policy. You're allowed to contact potential sponsors as much as you like, but keep in mind that we want to build a strong sense of community. We want our sponsors to feel wanted and to support athletics as well as they can. We want to get them on board with what we're doing, but we don't want to become a nuisance either. When securing sponsorship or advertising, understand that we are in the business of educating high school students, and all sponsors and ads must be appropriate and support the goals of the school district. The district and athletic department reserves the right to pull any program that has not had prior approval. All ads should be consistent with the values and mission of the district. We are all aware of the need to fundraise in today's economic climate. We are appreciative of all the efforts put forth by the booster clubs to support our student athletes. It takes a lot of hard work to organize some of the functions that you do. While some may put in more time than others, it is important for the clubs to remember that the amount of money an individual raises does not mean that an individual is entitled to extra benefits or that their child should get more playing time. The clubs are here to support all athletes, not some. It is also important to note that any fundraising must be within district guidelines and policy. Fundraisers must be approved by the athletic department and district office. There are many different ways that a booster club can raise funds. You can have car washes, bake sales, auctions, sell varsity cards, host golf tournaments, sell cookie dough or pizza, have raffles, the list goes on and on. You can Google hundreds of different types of fundraisers for booster clubs. All fundraisers must be approved and they must meet the goals of the athletic department. As I've said before, fundraising is a necessary evil. What we don't want to do is have multiple fundraisers going on at the same time or running a fundraiser too long. Doing this takes away from the need, and it can turn off the very individuals that you want to support the program. More fundraisers don't mean more money. You can get more money by choosing the right fundraisers and doing them well. Let's look at some do's and don'ts of booster clubs. Do gain charitable status, have strong leadership, have a clear vision and goals, and clearly defined policies and procedures. These 4 items alone will give you a strong foundation. You also want to make sure that you keep in contact with alumni. The alumni support can be critical to the success of the booster club because they have a vested interest in the success of their high school programs. Alumni outreach should be a priority for the club. As far as things that a booster club shouldn't do, The club should not have too many fundraisers. Fundraising is about catching the moment, and if you schedule too many, they begin to lose their effect because individuals have already donated. A booster club shouldn't overstep its boundaries. Clubs should support athletics, not discuss hiring, firing, or teacher-related issues, just to name a few. Clubs shouldn't try to determine spending by the athletic department either. Remember, the club is here to support athletics, not the other way around. Booster clubs should never underestimate the importance of staying compliant. Booster clubs should have a strong executive board, and as I said earlier, booster clubs shouldn't isolate themselves or not keep an open line of communication with the school athletic director. So where does that put us? It's vital that we involve the community to help us build support. We must make an effort to keep things fun and engaging for our members. We must try to boost the numbers in the clubs to maximize efforts to raise money. One of the top reasons people don't join clubs is because they feel they don't have the time. We must give them a reason to want to come out and be supportive. Booster clubs must be supportive of the educational mission of the school, have strong leadership, keep accurate records, and have an open and effective line of communication with the athletic director. The strong booster club will have school-based and community engagement, continuity at the top, will be able to fund specific projects, and will boost the teams that they serve. Thank you very much for your time and attention this evening. I hope the presentation has been informative and makes you think of how your club is operating and how it can be better going forward. At this time, I'll take any questions that you may have.